And I am really excited to see what is going to happen on this game number 2, because this is the day where we send 8 players home and we send 8 players into the playoffs.
Yeah, and talking about that last series for a second, it's so interesting because it's rare, I think, in StarCraft that we see games purely decided by the mind, right? Because this, even at the highest level, pro players have fantastic mechanics, absolutely, but it is decided on the mechanics. It's decided on decision. It's decided on multitasking, on kind of stressing. That game 3 was almost 100% decided on the mind game because the mutas came out. A laser was not ready for it. He prepped an anti-muta play and it just didn't work. But now Steadfast, I'm being told that we have our vetoes getting ready here, which means we're about 3 minutes away, less maybe, from Cure and Clem getting started. Now again, these two played each other at IEM Katowice in that tournament. Gressfun and Royal Blood were the 2 maps that were played, but this time Cure bans out Gressfun. Neo Humanity for Clem, but Cure doesn't want to play maybe the bigger game. He doesn't want to play on the bigger map against Clem here in this TVT. And you gotta wonder, Steadfast, considering how many games he's thrown away against Terrans, specifically Maru, in the last week, because he did it in the GSL too. Maybe he just wants to play the short game, doesn't want to give himself the opportunity to have a lead and then throw it away.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. Oh, okay. Yeah, Clem vetoing Neo Humanity and Altitude. Cure vetoing Gresspawn. Now, once again, it is TVT, so it's not like there's huge map features that are massively beneficial. But I would say of all the mirror matchups, TVT is kind of the one where, you know, maybe if you don't like playing defensive siege tanks as well as someone like Maru, as much as someone like Maru, who's the king of defensive late game TVT. And at this point, we can just say the king of TVT in general.
Sure.
But it's really interesting to me that they both, banned out these bigger maps that have a lot of opportunity for playmaking in Gressvon and Altitude, and each of them vetoed one of those. Despite the fact that I would say both of them are very fast, aggressive Terrans who like to play the heavy marine style. Obviously, we can't talk about it too much because, once again, it is TVT, but then to that point, Ancient Cistern got let through, and it's probably like this weird balance of having some really good tank spots that don't threaten bases, but are like really good on ledges. I guess you can like really overanalyze, and at the same time, you can also just not analyze at all TVT vetoes. Like you could go either way with it.
You just go, overanalyze. Just go mind empty, belly full. I'm thriving. I don't know. I guess belly full because we're gonna eat. We're gonna have some fantastic eating today, and specifically because the games are gonna be fantastic, and we're falling apart. That's fine. I swear I've had breakfast. This is not Hungry Philip talking to you. We're fine. But yeah, you know, I can see it's like, okay, I'm gonna go for the shorter maps. It's Babylon. It's I forget what the other one was. You know, like we have these shorter maps, these kind of tank positions a little bit. But yeah, Ancient Cistern kind of throws our narrative out the window just a tiny bit. That being said, though, it's still going to be fantastic. Now, when we talk about that last series that they did play, because again, that's the recent history. That's the most analogous setup. Big tournament, world championship, things like that. We saw Clem actually do some interesting things. So Cure game 1, he went for, it was on Gressfon. We can kind of throw that one out. You don't go Reactor first, Double Reaper on pretty much any map for Gressfon or Altitude, maybe Ancient Cistern, but in general, a little greedy. But I'm going to talk about that more in a second now, because we are in the game here in this matchup in the bottom right in the red. He's for Team Liquid. It's Clem.
And his opponent spawning up in the top left, the solidest, stablest, handsomest, bowl cuttiest Korean Terran. It is Abydos' Cure.
A very dangerous Cure.
Oh, I was going to talk about the comeback kid, but a very dangerous Cure makes me chuckle in a way that I can't even truly describe. Just very funny. Ooh, okay. This is something we had to consider and could have always been a thing. You're going to see a proxied second barracks on the map here coming out of Clem. So he is playing a cheeky little, if you go one racks expand, maybe I kill you. And it looks like Cure is going to go for that one racks expand. At
Yeah,
the
it's
very
interesting.
okay. Oh, okay. He is gonna go for an SCV. Oh, he might actually be looking for this specifically. No, okay. This is just a scout. Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether he has the timing kind of mapped out on this or not. Because again, you have to figure this out somewhat early because you want to add that second guess. You want to get that factory. You want to move on. So for now, right, we're going to see the SCV go down the ramp, get ready. He's going to have enough money for the natural fairly quickly. But anyways, when I was talking about this Katowice matchup, right, game one was not
Does he
super
drop
relevant
it?
to the first two games. And by the way,
Oh,
Clem
he
has, or
does
Cure
drop
has
it.
no idea right now. He just knows there's not a natural in the low ground. That's not all that weird, especially for like a barracks double gas factory type of expand. But anyway, to put a pin on this before things get weird, in game two of that series, Clem went very aggressive. He proxied on the map. That time, it was a proxy starport. But again, we're seeing this on the map aggressive option coming out. And
Oh, he finds it. Okay,
great
I
scout
think
there
you-
from Cure.
I think you cancel the command center. I
100%.
don't think you try and hold this. This feels so dangerous. He is going to keep an SCV on the low ground. Oh, he's pulling extra SCV. Okay. And he does have the second unit as a Marine. Didn't start a reactor or anything like that. Clem going in a little bit half-cocked with one of his units a little bit too far ahead. That's actually a huge deal. That was a really scary moment. This will buy time for now a third Marine. Ooh, Cure moves out with an attempt to snipe that 1 low HP Reaper if Clem was napping. He doesn't get it. Okay. This, as weird as it is to say, Cure has survived now the scariest moment, but this could still be dangerous as the Reaper count adds up.
Yeah, I mean, the factory's done now, so we should start to see a Hellion on the way that makes life a little bit easier. And look at this, look at what Cure's done. He just wanted to buy time to make sure that command center could get up. And now he's going to hold the second ramp here. SCVs, they run forward, but immediately, you back up the moment it takes damage. It's fine. And Steadfast, yeah, you know what? You can. There's going to be a tiny little bit of damage done in this command center, but the moment that orbital is done, you just float it. Like, the Reaper damage here, it doesn't matter at all. And now the Hellion goes down the ramp. It wants the lineup so desperately, but Clem's going to make that hard to find. So yes, Cure has survived the early game, the first push of this, but up the ramp here, KD8 charges. Still not a lot of damage on the Hellion, Steadfast. And that is the key thing if you want to break it. But look at this. Clem now, he's got a Hellion of his own.
He does, and that is going to make things... I mean, as long as Cure stays with this army, which he's got the command center provision, he should be just fine. Pulling the extra couple of SCVs there was very smart for Cure. Clem, though, he bungled that a little bit the way he went up the ramp, and he didn't really... Oh my God, he's going for it. Huge lineup and a great grenade, but a really nice grenade on the offense. Oh my goodness, Clem, can he actually just break through? The Cyclone does pop out, and there's enough. He killed enough for the Cyclone to take care of the rest. Ooh, he goes for lock on the Hellion. I don't like that. He should have just killed the Reaper. Still.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from. It's like, you know what? I think I can probably get the Reaper and the Hellion both, but corners are Terran's best friend, and they're sometimes Terran's worst enemy. And the Cyclone running around a corner there is just not all that great. But look at this. Clem doesn't bring his second barracks all the way back home. I guess he's worried about a counterattack, so he wants to just bring it close enough that it's still kind of within your own base, and you can start to produce some Marines out of it. But at this point, I don't think Clem has to be all that worried. But he's going for round 2, right? It's 3 Marines, it's a Cyclone here, and he's just really trying to leverage the fact that he killed a lot of Marines on Cure's side of the map early on, which means that there are less Marines, there's less anti-air. And this round 2 push coming out of Clem, Steadfast, if there wasn't a tank there, it would be scary. Even still, looks like he might be able to get something.
Yeah, I mean, the Cyclone's on the other side of the map. This is really dangerous. There is a siege tank on the high ground. That's going to take out the Cyclone. Cyclone goes down for Cure, but this looks great for Cure. Banshee getting so much damage already. It was already a lead for Cure, but now he is in such a good position. And the fact that he was able to defend what he... Oh, and the auto turret even goes down. That's not going to find anything. Even a rallied SCV to the back of the mineral line ends up getting taken out. This is looking so good for Cure right now.
Yeah, I got a little worried when that push found its way onto the other side and the Cyclone died. A positive lock on there, really no value. Now there's another drop. There's still a tank in the main here. Yeah, there's some damage getting done, but it's just not enough. And it's going to be 10 SCVs. Like, okay, I guess it's going to be 9. I overestimated Cure slightly.
He should have just turned around and shot. But yeah, he wasn't anticipating the Viking, I think. Still, 13 workers up. He's up a base. Clem does not have a third command center unless I miss. Did he have it? No. Does he have a third command center? Is that next to the main? Sorry, not Kier. Clem. No, that is in fact a starport. Yeah. Okay. So Clem is. I mean, at this point, Clem's pretty much just all in. He pretty much needs to win the game with a push. I would go so far as to say almost full stop. Now, he is building a third command center, but being down 12 SCVs, engineering bays later, infrastructure later, everything later, you have to do critical damage just to even the game, really. And I don't know how Clem is going to be able to find it. It's going to be really tough for him.
And man, I just want to take a second. Yes, Clem is absolutely in a rough spot right now. I just want to take a moment to applaud that scan positioning of Cure, right? It got the third, it got the main. Like, yes, there were spots that Clem could have hit his command center, but in general, I mean, just really nice positioning there. And now Cure knows exactly the timing on the third. He knows how late it is, which means he knows also that he just has to sit here and defend. He's got 2 Ravens, he's got Vikings, he's got 3 tanks, and Clem, I think, might have a 3rd Raven. I'm not totally sure, but regardless, I know he's only got 2, and the big deal, he spent the energy on that auto turret. So Cure not only has this defender's advantage, not only is he sitting here in the natural with a lot of tanks, he's gonna unsiege them and move them forward a little bit. He's got better Raven energy, right? He can disable more tanks than his opponent, and that can make a massive difference. And now he knows what's happening. He's like, okay, well, if the SCV died, that's fine. I'm still up 5. I'm still in a great spot here. I can sacrifice 1 to see what's happening.
Yeah, now so this is interesting. Cure, I was going to say, I would have liked to have seen, oh, never mind. He's going to go for the break attempt here. Good unsiege there from Clem. Was able to get all 3 tanks away. Can he actually escape with them? I think so. A little bit of kind of an awkward bit of movement around the Marines, but he gets away, baits out 3 interference matrices. Now that does break the position, and this is still a net positive for Cure. But the fact that Clem saves those tanks, I mean, that was actually kind of a game-saving move. And will give him the opportunity to counterpunch with his own Raven energy. Cure's going to need to be equally fast on this. Ooh, that's a big tank volley, but Cure with a massive stim. I don't know about going in here. He's going to try it regardless. Oh, never mind. He's just got enough Marines. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, Cure was just way too far ahead.
Yeah. The one thing I was going to say is, I'm a little worried about the air lead that Clem has, right? He's got 5, it was 5 Vikings to 1, I think at one point. Now it's 4 Vikings to 0. So that slow siege would be very powerful. Unfortunately, Cure had 1-1 in stim, and Clem did not. So, that's a bit of a rough timing right there. It's not often actually in TVT at this point where we see. Sorry, that hit just before 1-1, but it was just the Marine numbers. The Marine numbers, okay. He did still get 1 interference matrix on the backline tank. It was just a great read from Cure, because I looked at that and I was scared for Cure, but he made a really great read. He's like, no, I have like 6 extra Marines, 8 extra Marines. This is enough. You've lost one of the tanks in terms of its ability to fight, and that might have been the game-winning move. He's going to go for the kill now, sieging up tanks on top of his opponents. Setup, and yeah, he's just gonna crush through. Cure takes a very nice game number 1, very impressively done. Yeah, I mean, and again, I think that's the better version of Cure that we have to see. He played against Mario yesterday. He found himself in great positions like we saw in this game number 1, but he wasn't able to end the game, right? That's the big deal right there. This time though, he takes damage. That's fine. He runs across the map. He ends the game. He takes advantage of that really solid position he finds himself in. And now Clem, I mean, Clem has long had issues in TVT. He's gotten better recently. It's not quite the anchor around his foot that it has been in the past, but even still, TVT specifically against Korean Terrans, there just tend to be somewhere where he looks lost. And Steadfast, I don't know. Like, we see him do these proxies quite a bit. He did at Katowice, he proxied a starport. He did this weird proxy Liberator and a Hellion drop thing. This time he would proxy second barracks. There's strategies that force Clem to go and find value early on, and in the state of TVT right now, that feels really hard.
Yeah, honestly, for me, it all came down to that clutch scout from Cure early on. He gets some really good stuff done with that. Pulling the extra SCV made it really, it made that first, like, because Reaper matchups are very moment dependent, you know, like there can be a timing that is like 4 to 6 seconds, or even in some cases 3 seconds. And that's Cure was able to survive that. He got himself ahead. The Banshee kept put him further ahead, and he played it out from there fantastically. But let's get into game 2 on Babylon, as we have spawning down in the bottom right, looking to turn his fortunes around. It is Team Liquid's Clem.
And in the upper left, in the blue here, just looking so much better here on day number 2. He's the Terran player for Abydos. It's Cure.
Yeah, I really feel like that game would have turned out so differently if there was just any situation, like if the barracks had just not been scouted, because Cure was in a position where he was very vulnerable to that proxied second barracks. But he was like, okay, you've blocked my scout. This doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something weird. You could just be going for, you know, a double gas factory. But he looked for it, he found it, and he got the job done. And that put him into a really great position. Obviously, from there, he played things out. Like, there was still opportunities for each player, but Cure did enough to ensure the game 1 victory.
Yeah, and now as we look at game number 2, Steadfast, it's kind of interesting. You know, we're looking at Babylon. Babylon is not is not the longest map. I think that's fair to say. And we see both players going Reaper Expand, which is something that, I mean, for the last year and a half, it has not been the meta. It's always been you get a barracks, you get 2 gases, you get a factory. And yeah, you know, the recent Katowice change, or the patch right before Katowice, that changed things around, and the Ravens are less impactful, so you can kind of get away with a little bit of a less gas-heavy opening, and you're in a good spot. But to see both players mirror Reaper Expand is still kind of a rarity in modern TVT. So as we see this happening, right, the question now is how do we vary? What variants do we see? And already we see a little bit. Cure is very, I think actually this is just the 1-0 effect. Cure gets that 1 Reaper, and then he's very happy to go into a reactor immediately to get more Marines out, or Reapers, or whatever he wants to do. And Clem wants to stay safe, so we see a bunker on the low ground. We see him building a couple Marines before he drops that add-on. And that means that the production now for Cure is just going to be a little bit further ahead. And what this turns into, I don't know. But it's just a minor, it's the 1-0 effect, really.
Yeah, you definitely can be a little bit more liberal with your build orders. You can be a little bit more, you know, pseudo greedy, where it's still greedy, but it's like, it's very fringe greedy. It's not like you went command center first or anything crazy like that. But of course, Clem, feeling the pressure, he's like, okay, I do feel the need to go for a bunker. Cure did go for the gas first, Reaper Expand. So that's, he was kind of planning this from the start. But I was talking about vetoes not mattering too much in TVT. This is actually something I should have noticed, but I don't necessarily think about it as much. Both maps that we see that got through do have the ramp at the natural, as our observer does point out right there. And that makes it a lot easier to defend the 1-Rax expands from weirdness, like, you know, a proxied second barracks, or even just against the double gas openers. Now, if this goes to game 3, I do wonder, is Cure going to go for something like maybe a proxy 2-Rax Marauder or a proxy 2-Rax Reaper? That's obviously something that we're far away from, but I do have that curiosity if he would flip the switch and go really far in the other direction, because I think that's something the Korean Terrans do very well. Well,
for now, he is flipping the switch a little bit into the other direction. We got a tank drop here. There are Vikings and tanks that are going to reinforce. Cure off this 1-0 lead. He knows he can be a little bit more aggressive. And remember, he's got just a little bit of a production advantage. That reactor was just a little bit faster. He's going to have maybe 1 Marine more, maybe 2 Marines more.
Oh, he's got a lot more Marines, I think.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's going to be more than that. So the tank seized up. It's in bunker range. We don't have a tank of Clem yet, but luckily for Clem, at the very least, he's got this Raven out. He does have this shutdown available. Cure's going to see it, though. He should be able to get the unsiege in time.
I think at this point for Clem, he should look for a lock-on on that tank, but he's going to go for it now. Oh, he got too far forward. The tank is going to survive for a while, gets 5 SCVs. That does even things out crazily enough, but The Raven gets sniped by the Viking on the back end, and now there's another tank. Oh, this is a big problem. This is a huge problem for Clem, and Kira is going to secure himself a really nasty position. He's reinforcing with Vikings. This already looks incredibly strong for Kira.
Yeah, I mean, the Terran Copium says, okay, well, you know, the Raven spent its energy. I got another Raven on the way. That's not how this works, by the way. Ravens can regen energy. It's maybe going to be okay. But now as the tanks move forward here, Kira realizes that he is down a tank, effectively, because he lost that one early on. So he just picks up a second, backs up here. And now this is no longer a hard contain. We can consider it maybe a little bit of a softer contain. He's not actively shelling the... Okay, maybe somewhere between hard and soft. It's a gelato contain, right? He's not actively sieging things, but that's a mistake right there. He takes heavy damage. A tank will go down, but I guess he only trades 1 for 1 at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's it's 1 for 1. What I was gonna say is he has big control of the air. I want to see Liberator being added on. So I actually do think that was a bit of an, maybe not a mistake, but like a weird choice, because he's going for the Liberator. And now he adds on a second starport. He is going for the Jugular. You talk about the 1-0 lead. This is the effect of the 1-0 lead, is you can do something a little bit more wild, a high risk, high reward strat. And he's already got such a good position. This looks so terrifying for Clem. Clem, though, of course, as we can see, does have those Ravens. If he can get a big set of shutdowns from an unexpected angle, sneak around those Vikings, he could maybe crush this. But that is a big ask, and I don't know how he's going to find that angle.
No, it's going to be hard. And the other thing we have to point out here is that he's got 3 Ravens. He lost another. He's built 4 Ravens this game. Yeah. That is so much gap.
Oh, my. 3 Liberators at a time right now.
That is
3 Liberators is so much firepower air to ground.
And with these Vikings here, there is no way. There is 0 way that Clem can contest this. So he's got to find an angle. Really, that's what he's got to do. These Ravens got to come in from a weird angle, shut down the tanks, you clear things out, because then your Marines can deal with the Liberators. But for right now, he doesn't know where to move his army. The tanks just continue to fall. Now the bunker's going to get killed as he tries to salvage it. And this gets worse. And the Vikings find the Ravens.
Oh, that's so huge for Cure. He kills one of them off. He might get the second. Yes, he does. That might be checkmate right there. Clem is going to try and go for it. He's pulling everything. Liberators are not sieged up. There's the 1 interference matrix, but there's 2 tanks in the back. They are going to pummel this army. And Cure takes a dominant game number 2 and a dominating series over Clem.
Yeah, you know what? Maru may be able to make the miracle comebacks happen to Cure 2 weeks in a row. No one else can. No one else. And Clem just looks shell-shocked. I mean, look at that. He's shaking his head. His eyes are wide. He's just like, what just happened? Like, this was... it's rare that you see a player just look so shocked about a game result.
I mean, Cure kind of just stepped into him and judo tossed him across the room. Like, that was a clinical game number 2 from Cure. And yeah, Clem, he honestly, game number 1, I do like the build order choice, but then game 2, he just got completely caught out, and we can see, a little bit awkward on the movement. That Liberator constricts things so much. The SCV repair on 1 tank actually led to the death of another. When you're in a position like this, it is very rare to see Clem make mechanical mistakes, but Cure kind of forced that out a little bit, and that just goes to show how good of a Terran he is and has become in the last few months once again. Anyone who knows Cure knows how good he is, but seeing him recover from yesterday's disastrous series versus Maru, where he was in such a good position and he ended up losing it, seeing the reversal now, where he just shows up and absolutely just disposes of Clem, that's got to be a really nice boost to his confidence. And now he's on qualification point.
Mm-hmm. On the flip side, though, we have Clem. He's at 1 and 2. You know, he's got 1 life remaining, and you know, you obviously, of course, you can still make the run back happen. But we're seeing Clem in offline play. He took down Dark yesterday. He went up 1-0. Like, that's a great result. That is a fantastic result, even if it is one that we occasionally see online. And you're just like, okay, this makes sense. in general, seeing Clem do that offline is just a great result there. So it's a little bit rough, but Steadfast, looking at that game number two, wh- it's almost hard to pinpoint exactly where it went wrong. Yeah, you lose the Raven, right? That's rough, but he was already the knee was already slowly going down onto Clem's neck by that point. So maybe better scouting, right? Maybe just meet the army in the middle of the map. Be more active with your Reapers. I don't know, but just from start to finish, it's tough to look at that game and say, "Well, yeah, Clem, you do this one thing different, and you actually win this game."
Yeah, it's one of those situations where Kira came in with a really nice,
Hmm.
well prepared build order. He executed his strat extremely well. Clem unfortunately didn't really make any adjustments. I think, so. I think the big moment where Clem could have done something differently is if he has a read on what the actual setup
Hmm.
is that cyclone. So he
Yeah.
brings it in from the top side, gets a cheeky lock on the first tank because you can run in range of a siege tank, especially from the high ground like that. You get the lock on with a little bit of advanced, I guess, advanced warning. Uh, and you only take the one shot. You get the lock on. Either you force the siege and pick up and they get away, or you kill the tank. And then that push looks completely different. But unfortunately, he kind of rushed the situation. He did kill that tank, but it came at the cost of the cyclone, which allowed the air to really get out of control. And Cure smartly recognized as well that his opponent was not building Vikings, was continuing to build Ravens. So that 3 additional Liberators he went for was like, we didn't really see it come into play too much, but it was just a really nice read on the game to kind of make it an extra bit of security. Just fantastic play from Cure, top to bottom in that game number 2.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, Clem had to keep building the Ravens because he lost one. Although, even if that did happen, I mean, 4 Vikings to 2 is always super rough there in terms of production. Regardless, though, that means now the Cure is 2-1 and Clem is 1-2. So Cure, he's one map away from advancing on into the playoffs as again the second best Terran in the world. Clem 1-2. He's got one more. His life is on the line at this point. Any series he loses is going to knock him out of the tournament. So that's rough. That's what we're looking at as we move forward into today. But for now, we're going to get ready for our second series of the day, which is going to be fantastic, which means we have to go to a break. When we're back, though, Steadfast, there is more games. There are, in fact, fantastic series on the way. It's going to be Beyond and Creator. It's going to be that TVP. Beyond looking for some revenge after Classic kind of did him in on day number 1 in that matchup. So after the break, it's going to be Beyond and Creator.